let's bring in now in our political reporter, Ross Palumbo, alongside our political analyst, Brian Sobel. Lots to talk about today, guys.
Lots to talk about today. Here we go. It's all beginning just now. The big question at the moment, Hillary Clinton, the presumptive nominee for 24 hours now. What do you think that's doing to the voter turnout today?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, that is not going to deter the Sanders voters from coming out and making their statement. And Bernie hasn't suggested for 2 seconds that he's out. Right. So there's going to be a push-pull on whether people come out to vote for their candidate, especially Sanders.
Yeah, the polls in New Jersey close in just about an hour.
Absolutely.
So Hillary Clinton, what do you think she's going to do? Do you think she's going to wait for the polls to close in California before she comes out? Is now when she is finally going to claim victory officially?
Well, I think she's already claimed victory. So I think maybe at this point what she does is she waits for California to close and then does that. Although you're talking about a 3-hour time difference here.
Yeah, she has not formally said that the nomination is hers yet on the heels of that AP report that she is over the top. So we're wondering if she's finally going to say, I got it in the bag and urge Sanders to concede. So you think she's going to do it before the polls close?
That's my guess, but we'll see. She also has to mend a fence or two with Sanders behind the scenes, so we don't know what conversations are going on there. She would have to definitely call him and say, I'm doing this, and he could try to talk her out of it or come to another accommodation.
And of course, the other big question that we're waiting to see later tonight, Bernie Sanders in Santa Monica, what do you think he's going to do whether he wins California or not? Do you think there is any chance that he is going to concede and it's going to end tonight?
I don't think so, because his supporters really are true believers, and he's a true believer. But if he can get to the convention and peel away some of those superdelegates, he's back in the game.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's possible or not, and probably not possible.
I think maybe even a little anger yesterday that those numbers came out early. He seemed a little more resolute that he's going all the way after hearing that news when he spoke at Crissy Field yesterday.
Right, absolutely. So I think he's into the convention unless something drastic happens tonight.
Okay, and let's talk really quickly about the other hot race we're watching, the Senate race to replace Senator Barbara Boxer. Kamala Harris has been polling super high, Loretta Sanchez as well. So it is the best two of the 34 candidates all on the ballot tonight. Do you really think we're going to see anything unexpected here, or do you think it's going to be those two?
I think it'll be those two. I think the 3 Republicans, Del Beccaro and Sondheim and Unz, come in 3, 4, and 5, and then the rest of the field come in behind that. I think it's the top 2 Democratic contenders there.
All right, a lot to watch tonight. That is just the beginning, guys. We'll send it back to you, but many races across the state. Those are just the highlights that we're watching right off the top.
Well, while we have you guys still here, we'll talk about Wednesday morning, tomorrow. What does Hillary Clinton do, right? You have the AP saying she already has a number of delegates, but when you have Bernie Sanders, I'm going to read this quote saying, it is extremely unlikely that Secretary Clinton will have the requisite number of pledged delegates to claim victory on Tuesday night. So to Ross and Brian, what does she do if he's not ready to say he's still stuck on that superdelegate versus delegate? What can she do? Does she wait until July?
Well, you know, it all depends on the phone call that she's undoubtedly going to make to Bernie Sanders tonight. You know, I know the thing that is going to throw this all into another mix, another tailspin, is President Obama is expected on Wednesday to throw his support directly to Hillary Clinton. That is going to be a big thumb on the scale and a problem for Bernie Sanders.
Absolutely. And but there's something about Sanders and his belief in his flock, as it were, and what he thinks they want him to do, which is to stay in and attempt to help create the party platform that they want going forward.
Yeah, Kiva, so I think it's really that Bernie Sanders keeps on keeping on, and Hillary Clinton does as well, that she continues to be nice and continues to let him do what he's doing. That's all she can do at this point.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Ross, Brian, we're going to hear from you guys coming up a little bit later. Thank you. And KTVU, of course, we have you covered on this election day. We'll bring you the results live throughout the evening.
Right. Let's bring in Ross Palumbo, Brian Sobel again. So, Ross, I guess if I'm looking at this right, here we have Paul Ryan saying, I reject this kind of rhetoric, but I'm still behind him as a candidate. Is that what he basically said today?
That's basically what he said. What else can he say? And not only was that unusual, but take a look at this. Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid both agreed today, the majority and minority leader in the Senate. For the first time, they actually agreed on something, but it was that they both condemned Donald Trump. Can you believe it? How damaging is this for Donald Trump?
You know, he's Teflon. This one is a little bit a deeper wound than we've seen before. You know, I thought in the past, Ross, the comments about John McCain being shot down and that made him a loser somehow, and that sort of thing. Each time we saw one of those things, I kept saying, and a lot of people did, that's it, done, never done. But this one really is a deep wound, I think.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've actually seen Donald Trump bend a little bit. Now, he stopped short, though, of flat out apologizing. Do you think that was a mistake?
Well, it is for some people, but his core supporters just say, oh, that's Trump. That's what he does. But he did, for the first time today, back off a remark, which he hasn't done in this campaign very often.
Okay, what do you think we're going to see in the Republican side today? You know, Donald Trump is basically uncontested, but there are still other names on the ballot. So the conventional wisdom is that he should get 80% of the vote. Do you think he's going to get it tonight? And if he doesn't, what is that going to say about Republican confidence in him?
I think he will get the vast majority of Republican votes tonight across the 6 elections, and he's going to do very well among Republicans in California. But remember, California registration is Republican registration 27%.
Yeah, and it's gone down a little bit, just slightly, 1 or 2 percentage points. But if he doesn't get 80%, do you think that's going to send a message that, look, we're with you, but we're not overwhelmingly with you, we're not coming out?
I don't know. You know, we'll have to see. I don't know that that's exactly how I would read it if he doesn't get that high number, but it's an interesting way to look at it. Is that a signal that people are really dissatisfied? I don't know.
Okay, and what is this going to mean tonight for Hillary Clinton if Bernie Sanders does not step out when it comes to Donald Trump? Is she still going to be focusing on Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, or do you think she's done with Bernie and really talking about that and she's moving on to Donald Trump tonight?
She's trying to intimate that she's done with Bernie and that the whole race is Donald Trump, but she still has to deal with both people because they're both in the race.
All right, because Bernie Sanders is going to be speaking tonight at 7 o'clock our time, we believe. Hillary Clinton is expected to speak from Brooklyn at 7 o'clock, guys. So both of them coming out at the exact same time. It's going to be very interesting when our election coverage continues at 7 o'clock tonight to see both of them at the same time what they have to say.
Yeah, it certainly will be. Brian, before we let you go, I just have a real quick question. I want to go back to those comments today by Paul Ryan, because I really do think that is the headline on this election day when you're looking at the Republican and the Republican Party and the general election coming up. Curious, I know that you said that, you know, Trump is Teflon, right? But what about the Republican Party? Doesn't this undercut the strategy of the Republican Party to try to push forward with their policy when they have their candidate making these sort of comments?
Well, it's unfortunate for Republicans that Donald Trump makes these comments, but then you ask yourself, Heather, where are they going? Who else do they support? At this point, Trump's their guy, and that's problematic for some people, especially as he continues to make these kinds of comments. They're really damaging, not just to Trump, but to the Republican Party.
Yeah, and really quickly, you know, Senator Lindsey Graham today saying that if there was a time to pull the ripcord, if there was a time to bail out, this is the time. So you are seeing defections. A senator from Illinois today tweeted out and put out a statement that he cannot support Donald Trump. So instead of seeing the party fall in line like we have been for the past few weeks, now it seems like the Republican Party once again is going into disarray. Very interesting.
I do have a question, Brian, going back to the top of the newscast when you mentioned you don't expect Bernie Sanders to concede tonight. Do you think that really the bigger story from his perspective is that he's got his own agenda regarding the Democratic Party, how it's looked, how it's shaped for the future?
Mike, yes, that's exactly it. I don't think he's under any illusion at this point that he somehow makes this nomination work. I think he's trying to greatly affect the platform, the things that he wants Hillary Clinton and the Democrats to move forward on, things like free higher education and lots of things that he's been talking about, reform around Wall Street. All these things are very, very important. And so that's what he's trying to do at this point. And so he's not going to give up early because he wants to walk into that convention and give that speech that has all these details in it.
And this is the minor point that we disagree on, right? I think that he is actually still believing at this point that he is going on to get that nomination, that somehow he's going to make this happen at the convention. I think he's a true believer, but many people do say that they think this is all about changing that party platform.
Well, I think if he does get to speak at the convention, it's going to be a prime time spot.
Right.
I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
gonna,
Oh, he's definitely getting
Yeah,
that.
he's getting that.
There's no doubt about that.
But what he wants to do is put people into position who will vote for things and to shape the platform the way he wants it shaped.
What he's been
and
pushing.
then he's got to still be a candidate to do that.
Yeah, and Ross, to your point, it would have to be the superdelegates to change their mind. That's really the only way.
That is the only way, but keep in mind this is really interesting. 714 superdelegates. He has been saying that this is a problem all along. Why have they made up their minds? Their votes don't even count till we get to the convention floor. But keep in mind, Bernie Sanders has not changed over one superdelegates, even though he's won 20 states. Hillary Clinton 24 states. He hasn't changed one mind yet. So how does he do that? How does
Well,
he do that before
the one
convention?
thing to remember, though, is that some members of Congress have said that if Bernie Sanders wins their district, then they want to vote with the people in their district. That'll peel some off, but we're talking such a big number.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible for Sanders to go into the convention and peel away that many superdelegates.
All right, guys, I got to jump in. We could go on all night, but
Yes.
Ross
we
Palumbo,
will go on.
We will.
Other
Brian
newscasts
Sobel,
as
stick
well.
around. We'll see you all throughout the night. Thank you, guys.